At 1210 p.m., a pair of Su-34 seconds landed at a forward airbase in the Eastern Theater. The aircraft were preparing to refuel and rearm for their next strike mission. This phase of the operation represented the aircraft's single most vulnerable moment. Ukrainian intelligence had monitored this vulnerability for weeks, timing every component of the cycle. Russian forces assessed the base as secure, camouflaged, and beyond the range of attack. The event that followed was a preemptive surgical strike, intended to neutralize the squadron before it could return to the air. This analysis details how Ukrainian forces targeted a 15-minute refueling window to conduct the operation. An unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV, of Ukrainian origin conducted reconnaissance from an altitude of 8,000 meters. The stealth UAV transmitted thermal imagery to a command center. On the ground, the Russian forward base appeared inactive. To intelligence officers of Ukraine's 54th Electronic Brigade, every movement provided critical data. For weeks, they had documented abnormal Su-34 flight activity in the sector. The bombers were operating in pairs with predictable arrival schedules. They appeared to be refueling at a newly established field station near the front lines, rather than returning to bases deep inside Russia. This logistical change presented a tactical opportunity. By refueling closer to the front, the Su-34 seconds could increase their sortie rate and operational tempo. However, if Ukrainian forces could strike the aircraft during refueling, the entire Russian strike chain in the area could be disrupted. Ukrainian Tactical Command established the objective: destroy the refueling station and all Su-34 seconds present during their rearming and refueling phase. The operation began with 24/7 reconnaissance. A group of stealth UAVs flew coordinated patterns, generating a 3D infrared map of the target area. They identified fuel trucks, electronic warfare stations, and ordnance loading vehicles, which were revealed by their thermal signatures despite camouflage. The data indicated that refueling cycles lasted approximately 8 minutes. Rearming took an additional 5 to 7 minutes. This created a window of 11 to 15 minutes, where the aircraft and ground crews were completely exposed. An electronic reconnaissance team analyzed Russian radar and radio communications. They pinpointed the moments when Russian air defense systems were diverted to engage decoys. After 19 days of observation, a window of opportunity opened while Russian radar was distracted. In a hardened underground command center, the 3D map was updated in real time. 2 red icons appeared on the screen, indicating the 2 Su-34 seconds had landed. UAV cameras provided clear footage of ground crews connecting fuel lines and moving ordnance trucks into position. 40 kilometers away, a HIMARS unit launched radar decoy munitions. This action forced Russian air defense radars to orient toward the false targets. A temporary air corridor was now open for approximately 15 minutes. 4 Ukrainian MiG-29 seconds, which had been positioned for this opportunity, immediately moved toward the target. Each aircraft carried one FAB 3000 M54 bomb, a 3-ton weapon fitted with GPS and laser guidance systems. UAVs already on station provided targeting data with an accuracy of within 1 meter. At 042548, the order was given to release the weapons. The first 2 bombs followed a spiral trajectory designed to penetrate hardened structures before detonating. The third and fourth bombs were released 9 seconds later. The 4 nearly simultaneous explosions engulfed the refueling zone. A bright flash illuminated the night sky with flames reaching tens of meters in height. Russian radar systems in the area went offline. The Russian aircraft were struck before they could take off. As smoke covered the area, 2 more MiG-29 seconds dropped FAB 1000 bombs on the base's radar station and power generators. The secondary shockwave ignited ammunition trucks, triggering a chain reaction of explosions. The runway was rendered completely unusable. As Russian personnel evacuated their bunkers, Ukrainian FPV drones engaged them. The drones were equipped with thermobaric warheads. Within 4 minutes, the base's entire defense radar and communications network was neutralized. By 4:28 a.m., the eastern sky was glowing from the fires. Screens at the Ukrainian command post displayed imagery of burning Su-34 seconds and melted fuel trucks under a thick plume of smoke. The HIMARS unit fired a final salvo to disrupt any organized response. No Russian air defense missiles were launched. Ukrainian forces had achieved complete control of the battle space across the ground, air, and electromagnetic spectrums. The attack was assessed to have crippled a Russian tactical bomber regiment for at least 72 hours. At sunrise, the Russian base consisted of smoldering wreckage. Ukrainian UAVs remained overhead to conduct battle damage assessment. They recorded the destroyed frames of the Su-34 seconds and the cratered runway. Fuel stations were reduced to pools of burning oil. A secondary explosion occurred at the logistics hub as a communications antenna collapsed. The entire base was effectively destroyed. The last Ukrainian FPV drones were tasked with neutralizing any remaining radar assets and an auxiliary solar power station. Inside, the Ukrainian command center operators observed as the tactical map display shifted from red to grey, indicating the target was no longer active. The chief officer entered a single line into the official log Su-34 refueling base, completely destroyed. By 4:52 a.m., all Ukrainian forces had withdrawn from the operational area. No Ukrainian casualties were reported. The Russian forces in the sector were paralyzed with their radar command links and runways disabled, leaving them with no local air support. The strike demonstrated that tactical success could be achieved through intelligence, precise timing, and patience. Ukraine targeted the Russian jets not in the air, but at the specific moment of maximum vulnerability on the ground, unarmed and connected to fuel lines. 5 hours prior to the airfield strike, a separate operation was initiated. 14 long-range drones, each armed with a 40-kilogram explosive warhead, launched from sites inside Ukraine. These UAVs were designed for a single mission to penetrate hundreds of kilometers into enemy territory and strike a specific target with high precision. The target was a Russian cargo ship anchored in the Caspian Sea. For days, Ukrainian and Allied satellites had tracked the vessel, monitoring its movements and anchorage position. The ship's crew was unaware that its activities were being monitored in real time. The launch signal for the drones was relayed via satellite. The vessel, the Portolia 4, had a displacement of 4,900 tons and was loaded with military supplies. The cargo included approximately 5,000 tons of Iranian-provided components for Shahed 136 and Shahed 238 drones. These components comprised power systems, avionics modules, gyroscopic sensors, and navigation devices, along with crates of 122mm rocket ammunition. The ship represented a significant portion of Russia's drone assembly and supply chain for upcoming operations. The Portolia 4 was a 110-meter-long freighter operating under the Russian flag. Instead of docking at Russia's Olia port, the captain had anchored in the Volga-Don shipping channel, an inland waterway. This location was approximately 800 kilometers from Ukrainian front lines. Ukrainian intelligence had mapped the ship's schedule route and anchorage point days in advance. The operation utilized multiple layers of intelligence. Commercial satellites equipped with synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, provided the initial data. SAR can penetrate clouds and darkness tracking vessels even when their transponders are inactive. Analysts compared radar returns and hull shapes to confirm the identity and position of the Portolia 4. This analysis revealed a mooring window of 4 to 6 hours sufficient for a staged attack. Signals intelligence provided a second layer detecting low radar emissions that indicated the ship was attempting to minimize its electronic signature. The operational goal was not to detonate the cargo, but to sink the vessel in a controlled manner, sending the drone components to the bottom of the channel. For this mission, Ukraine utilized long-range kamikaze UAVs based on the UJ-26ER platform. Their composite airframes produce a small radar signature, with speeds between 150 and 180 kilometers per hour. They could cover long distances while flying low to avoid radar detection. The guidance system combined GNSS and INS with electro-optical confirmation for the final approach, ensuring accuracy even under GPS jamming. Each drone carried a 40-kilogram warhead with varied types, designed to rupture decks, pierce water lines and disable systems. With auxiliary fuel tanks, the UJ-26ER has a range capable of reaching the Caspian Sea. 14 drones were assigned to the Mission 12 for direct attack, and 2 to act as communications relays. The attack plan was divided into 4 vectors targeting the stern bow and midsection of the ship. At 5:45 a.m., the drones were launched. They flew at low altitudes between 20 and 60 meters above the water to blend in with radar ground clutter. At 10:28 a.m. local time, the first drone struck the upper aft deck, rupturing plates near the engine ventilation shaft. The resulting fire disabled damage control systems, fuel pumps and generators. A second drone then struck the starboard waterline, piercing the hull and causing flooding in lower compartments. The third and fourth drones followed, hitting a hatch cover and the port waterline. The impacts caused widespread damage, and the ship began to list to starboard. The captain declared an emergency. Port security dispatched 2 tugs and a patrol craft. Before they could arrive, a 5th drone struck the bow near the bridge at 10:31 a.m. This impact caused a total power failure on the bridge. Between 10:33 and 10:36 a.m., the 6th and 7th drones hit, opening a large gash along the starboard side and accelerating the flooding. By 10:38 a.m., the crew abandoned ship. 2 drones were intercepted by Russian air defenses, but the attack continued. At 10:41 a.m., the 8th drone struck midship, increasing the ship's list to 7 degrees. The 9th and 10th drones hit the stern shaft tunnel, rupturing propulsion and fuel lines. The 11th and 12th drones were used to drop ordnance along the approach lane of the rescue tugs, blocking their path. The relay drones continued to transmit data throughout the attack. The damage cascaded: first power loss, then pump failure, leading to uncontrollable flooding and structural fatigue. By 10:50 a.m., the ship was critically damaged. It capsized within hours. By 2:32 p.m., satellite images confirmed the Port Olia 4 was sunk. Russia initially reported only minor damage, but photographs of the wreck were subsequently released. Open-source intelligence analysts geolocated the images, confirming the location of the sinking. On August 14th, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine confirmed that the Port Olia 4 carrying Iranian UAV components had been sunk in a coordinated strike. The loss of the 5,000-ton cargo was significant. Without these imported avionics, navigation, and power modules, Russia's ability to assemble Shahed drones at scale was degraded. The strike disrupted Moscow's operational plans for weeks. Strategically, the attack altered regional security assumptions. The Caspian Sea, once considered a safe rear area, was now demonstrated to be within Ukraine's operational reach. Maritime insurance markets reacted by increasing war risk premiums for the region. From Kyiv's perspective, the strike expanded the conflict beyond the Black Sea, forcing Moscow to re-evaluate its logistical security. By sinking a single ship, Ukraine disrupted Russia's airstrike tempo. For Moscow, the implications were serious. Shahed production was stalled, and supply chains once considered secure were now proven to be vulnerable. The sinking of the Port Olia 4 was a logistical disruption and evidence that no rear area was beyond Ukraine's reach. It demonstrated that in modern warfare, operational reach is often defined by intelligence and precision rather than geography alone.